Hey everyone, my name is Frank Marco and I will be your professor for this class, which is entitled Ministry and Administrative Skills. So if that's the class that you signed up for, you're in the right place. I know some of you may have walked in and said, oh, this is the wrong class, I better leave out the door. No, I'm just kidding. But remember back in school, in high school, when everybody showed up and invariably somebody would scramble out the door saying, oops, I think I'm in the wrong place. Hopefully you're in the right place. I think I'm in the right place. Just a little bit of background about myself. I'm actually a new professor here at the King's University. I just started. In addition to being a professor, I am also the Dean of Distance and Innovative Education, which means I oversee all of the distance education programs here at the college, the university. And I'm pleased to be part of this wonderful, wonderful university at this season. I think God is doing some new things here, some great things here, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I've been teaching, though, for about 15 years in higher education, primarily in areas of leadership and management, organizational behavior, strategic leadership, those kinds of areas. But I've done my fair share of biblical studies and ministry-related classes in the past. And so this is actually a good opportunity for me to kind of merge a lot of those things together. And of course, I've had some good experience in leadership and management in the past. I've been on church staff before, and I've been a administrator in higher education now for about the past 12 years or so. So I've had lots of opportunity to oversee people and programs and projects and all those sorts of things. And so hopefully my education and my experience will make this an interesting class for you. Speaking of education, you can read my bio, some of my highlights there in the Meet Your Professor section. But I did my PhD at Regent University, a great university, MA at Church of God Theological Seminary, and I did my bachelor's in biblical studies at Patton University. So enough about me. Well, one more thing. I do have a wonderful family, and you can probably see their picture over my shoulder here somewhere. I know it's in the background. But a wonderful wife, Gina, been married 25 years now, and 4 children, Jake, Ben, Abby, and Matt. And that's about it. You'll get to know more about me throughout the class. This first video is really just an introduction of the class. I'm going to go through some of the highlights of the course outline, course syllabus. Excuse me. So, first things first, if you haven't read through the course syllabus, I want you to take some time now. Please read through it on your own. And so we'll pause here, and then you can return to the video when you've read it, okay? We'll wait and pause. They're fast readers. Okay, you're back. Well, glad to see that you're back. So, I would probably recommend having the course syllabus with you now as well, and that way as I go through some of the high points, you can maybe make notes or comments as we go through, okay? So I'm going to go kind of quickly through this. We'll have more time in the class. I'll make announcements and whatnot to try to clarify things, but I just wanted to sort of give you an introduction to the class and the big picture. All right, so let's take a look at the course description. Recognizing Scripture's mandate for the leaders and pastors to administer the affairs of the church or nonprofit ministry, this specialized course is designed to introduce the managerial accounting and budgeting skills necessary to accomplish the task for which they are responsible. Okay, so we're going to look at the things that may not seem as glamorous about ministry, and some of you are saying, oh, I'm going to be full-time in ministry, and it's all going to be about preaching and teaching and ministering in the Spirit and all these cool things. And I know those things are going to happen, but perhaps what isn't quite as evident is some of the day-to-day routine things that are required of those who are in ministry or involved in leadership and management, and keeping track of the affairs of the organization are really as important to really help everything else be supported and run smoothly. So this is kind of one of those, behind the scenes kind of classes. It's probably not, like I said, not as glamorous as some of the other ones, maybe not why you signed up for the program, but I'm confident you're going to learn some important things, some necessary things for you to be effective in your ministry in the long run. Let's take a look at some of the course outcomes as well. First of all, these are the things, by the way, which you should be able to do when this class is over, okay? Outcomes, student outcomes, learning outcomes, they're called. Explain the biblical and theological rationale for effective administration. Analyze leadership and management principles which apply to ministry situations. Apply areas of effective administration in key structural areas, including developing goals, policies, strategic plans, as well as program evaluation. Evaluate approaches to managing human resources as a way to developing healthy and effective ministries. Demonstrate an ability to apply budgeting principles to ministry finances and resources, as well as use appropriate tools. And demonstrate an understanding of legal and ethical matters relevant to personal ministry and context. Okay, so you can see then that this course really is about several main things. It's about managing the affairs of the organization, the resources, including physical resources, financial resources, as well as human resources. Now, I know in a church context we don't like to think about people as human resources, but that's really sort of the managerial term, and you need to become sort of familiar with the vernacular of this discipline, I think, because it's going to help you have sort of a broader context. So we know they're people. We know God loves everybody in the church. He loves us. But for this context, we'll refer to that whole area as human resources. Okay, so I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but it's fairly common practice. Moving along, here's some of the things that you'll be doing in the class on a regular basis. Each week, students will engage in reading the textbook and other material, and I'll explain the textbooks in a bit. Weekly videos, something like this, will be presented for you to watch, and the discussion board. Now, the requirements, very similar to what we just went through, but let me put a little more meat on the bones here. So your grading will be based on the discussion board postings. There will be required weekly postings from week 1 through 7, and I have some grading rubrics in there that will show you the criteria for what makes a good post. So it's not that difficult really to get a good grade on the discussion board post, but I do want you to read through those rubrics so you can see what I'm looking for, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit as well. There will be one research paper in this class. It's going to be an 8 to 10 pager, and I'll have 3 different choice of topics in there, and again, I'll go through that in a little bit. I'm just sort of trying to give you an overview right now. And then there's going to be a final exam. Ooh, everybody loves those. Okay, course evaluations, 40% of your grade will be based on the discussion board posting, 30% on that research paper, and 30% on the final exam. Okay, so you have lots of opportunities here to make up points. So maybe you really like to write and you're going to knock it out of the park on that research paper. Maybe you'll get full points for that. Or maybe you do good on exams and you'll get full points for that. I'm hopeful that everybody can do good in this class. Everybody might not get an A in this class. I don't give A's just for showing up. You really have to work hard in my classes. You really have to demonstrate that you know the material. You're able to think about and articulate and apply the material well. So anyhow, but if you do the work, you earn the grades. Grades aren't given, grades are earned. That's my philosophy of grading. And then, of course, that adds up to 100%. All right, let's talk about the textbook quickly. It's called Management Essentials for Christian Ministries. Great book by these guys right here. It's a good introduction and overview to this topic. There's obviously plenty of books that we could have used. I think this one does a good job of sort of synthesizing sort of the spiritual Christian perspective in this whole area with some of the specific kinds of skills and tasks that you'll be required to do. So I think it's good. And I'm also going to have some additional reading material, articles, websites, etc. Now, let me just kind of give you some heads up on this and fair warning. I'm going to refer to some secular management sources that will introduce you to the broader field of leadership and management. Now, why is that? Well, because there's a lot of good stuff out there that can help us. That's why. And while, of course, the Bible is our foundation for our belief and practice as Christians, it doesn't necessarily give us specifics on administration and managerial and leadership skills. There's some good principles in there, I know, that we can glean from. In the first part of this class, we're really going to talk about that. And the book actually does use some scripture to support various ideas, but there's a lot of other good resources out there that I think you should become familiar with. And so I'm going to introduce you to various articles and books, not whole books, but maybe sections of books and whatnot, websites and ideas, concepts, theories that are out there that will really help you to grasp this material in a better way in addition to our textbook. Okay, so get excited about that because we got some good stuff coming. And also, if you come across something interesting, I want you to share it in the discussion post called Useful Info Sightings. And again, you're going to be going through this class, you're going to be thinking about the topic and reading about it, and you might come across an article or a website or something, and you say, wow, this is really kind of relates to what we're talking about in class. I want to go ahead and post this. Feel free to do that. We can all share information in this class. All right, let's talk about the discussion board and the online participation policy. The first week, you need to make your post no later than Wednesday by midnight to demonstrate true intent to be enrolled in class. So this would sort of be like showing up for the first week of class or not. And then subsequently, you should make your first post no later than Wednesday each week in order to receive full points. And late points will be deducted for your initial posts that are made after Wednesday. All right, so I really want everybody to get involved in the discussion board fairly early in the week. And this is good for you. This is good to stay on top, to be ahead of the game. And some people I know, they like see this as one more assignment and they'll do it Sunday night. That's really, not the intent of the discussion board. The discussion board is to be an ongoing, evolving kind of event that takes place in an online class that helps you kind of interact and integrate as the week goes on. It's not just like one more paper you're going to tack on at the end, but it really needs to kind of be that back and forth discussion. And in order for that to happen well, it has to start off early in the week. Okay, so I want to encourage you to post Wednesday at the latest. You can of course post on Monday or Tuesday if you like. You do need to do your reading first, so if you're kind of get ahead on your reading, you could post on Monday, but typically I recommend you do your reading Monday-ish, Tuesdays finish reading, post, and then Wednesday through Friday we can do our discussion boards, maybe a little on Saturday, and then that gives you the weekend for studying, for working on your paper, and other things. All right, so that's kind of a good flow, I feel, for an online course. Questions will be related to the week's topics and assigned reading and lecture presented by the instructor, me, and will give you the opportunity to reflect their informed views on the matter. They should reflect that you have indeed done your reading. You should demonstrate knowledge of content studied in class, critical thinking, analysis, application, etc., and be supported by relevant literature. And that might be the textbook, that might be some of the articles and things that we're adding as well. And what I want you to do is to make your initial post and then respond to one other student, at least one other student, and then follow up with your respondent. Okay, so for each question I post, you're going to make 3 posts, right? You're going to follow up to, so here's my question, you're going to follow up, and then somebody's going to follow up to you, and you're going to follow up to them. Okay, and then you're going to find somebody else's initial post, and you're going to follow up to them. All right, so that's 3 posts altogether. Your initial post, your follow-up to somebody, your response to somebody, and then your follow-up with the person that responded to you. And again, here's sort of my weekly schedule. I talked about this a little bit, but by Wednesday, respond to your first discussion question. By Thursday, respond to, I don't know that I have a second discussion question, if one is posted. Typically, I post both of them by the beginning of the week, but if you want to post to one on Tuesday and one on Thursday, that's fine. You can, figure out your own workflow, but you need to make those posts early. And then by the end of the week, respond to at least one of the professor's follow-up posts. If I didn't respond to your post specifically, then respond to another student. All right. So if I do respond to you, actually, that's going to make it 4 required posts. All right. So consider that one additional post. So I won't respond to everybody every week. I like to interact with most of the people most of the time. In terms of my role there, I'm not going to answer everything. I'm not going to be involved in every discussion. Sort of consider me the teacher as you're having classroom discussion, kind of walking around the classroom and sitting down once in a while and throwing fuel on the fire or water on the fire if it needs it. That's sort of my role in the discussion board. Now, let's talk about the research project. For the final class projects, students are to do a project that can have a real-world application and help them in managing their church or ministry. While academic, they should be written in a way that will engage their intended audience. For example, a church staff, a group of volunteers, your church board, etc. Now, I'm going to give you 3 options for this project. Before I explain these, let me just kind of talk a little bit now. I want this project to be something that's useful for you. I want you to pick an area that you're involved in that you say, wow, I could really apply some of these ideas to this area here. Now, you'll be doing that all throughout the class in the discussion board, but this is a place to kind of pull it all together and to come up, with a project or a presentation that you could make to a group or give to a group that you could actually use to help you manage the affairs of your church or ministry or nonprofit. You might say, well, I'm not really involved in leadership of any of those. Maybe you want to do it for your business. I'm okay with that. Let's talk about that. But any group that you have oversight over is fair game for this. Now, you might say, well, I'm not really involved in anything right now. Talk to me. I'll help you come up with an alternative assignment, okay? But for those of you that are involved in some sort of role, you don't necessarily have to be, the CEO or executive, but if you have access to the organization, you can think about it and write about it. You're not doing any interviews or anything like that, surveys, but you just need to be able to, point to a specific locality and come up with ideas for this project, all right? So I want it to be useful. I want it to be helpful for you. All right, so let's talk about the three options here. The first one can be a policy and procedures manual for your church or ministry. Okay, so this is, as we go through the class, we're going to be talking about policies and procedures and process, the 3 Ps. You might say, well, yeah, I need some of that kind of stuff, right? We're kind of getting bigger. The church is growing now. We really don't have many of these kind of policies or procedures. I want to pull this together. That would be a great project for you, okay? So maybe you're in that that stage of your life cycle where this would be helpful. Now, the second option is for you to develop a strategic plan for your church or ministry. All right, and we're going to learn about strategic planning a bit in this class. This is an option for you, an idea for you to really think about the mission, vision, goals, and strategic action items, along with personnel involved, budget, timelines, how it would be assessed. You'll do a SWOT analysis, It's really a great project for you to think about sort of the long-term vision and future and objectives of the organization. So you might be at a place where your policies and procedures are together pretty good. You really would like to sink your teeth into a project like this. And ideally, you would do this project with a group of people. In your organization, you would never do a strategic plan all by yourself because it's important to get the input and the support of many, many people throughout the organization. But for purposes of this course, you're probably not going to collaborate, but I'm open if you want to collaborate with somebody, if it's maybe a staff person or some of your staff people and you really want to make this serious, I would be okay with that. You don't have to do that. It's just an option for you, okay? And then the third option is a human resources development plan. All right, and what is that? That's just simply a way to say, here's how we're going to select, train, assess, reward, people within our church or ministry or organization, all right? So it's sort of a comprehensive way of thinking through all the issues that take place in really supporting the people side of your church or organization. So, and again, this isn't something historically I think the church has been real good at. We sort of count on the goodwill of people and the people's sense of calling and love for the Lord. They're just going to show up and they're going to do great and nothing bad's ever going to happen. Well, historically we know there's a lot of problems with those assumptions. They don't come true. Of course, people come because they love Jesus and they want to serve Him, but I believe that it's our responsibility as stewards, as leaders over that organization, whether it's a church or ministry, to really help people to flourish and to help them get the training and to reward them adequately and to motivate them adequately so that they can stay in things for the long term. Sure, you can get somebody on the short term to come in and, help out and do a bang-up job, but do you want them to really grow and flourish and become a long-term part of the church? Do you want them to grow as a leader themselves, right? So that's a whole different mentality we have to have about people in order for that to be effective. It's not going to happen by accident. And then, of course, you might have another idea. You might go through the class and say, well, I'd really like to do this. Maybe you want to do an extended budget. Maybe you want to implement a new software program. I'm open to other practical kinds of projects that will demonstrate competency in one of the areas of the class. So if you have something besides one of these three, run it by me. We'll massage it a little bit together, and I'll go ahead and let you go for it if it sounds like it's a good fit for you. Okay, and then there's going to be the final exam. In the 8th week of class, the exam will be posted in Blackboard. It's going to be multiple choice, true, false, as well as some open essay type questions. In order to help you prepare, I would be sure to track the key ideas from the textbook. And these are really, if you look at the section headers of the book, the big bold ones, the key ideas, not all the details, not all the examples, of course, but some of the main ideas. That's really what I'm going to be looking for. And you should know the basics of these. You might even want to consider keeping a log of key concepts that you can use to develop your study material from that. And then I'll give you a study guide in week 6 to help you prepare. But again, your preparation should begin early in the class by developing ways to help you track and review key concepts. Okay, so I don't want you to freak out over this. I know nobody really likes exams, but it's a good assessment tool for us. It keeps you on your toes. It helps you, forces you to review the material so you really know it. Okay. Just some miscellaneous things. Please review the course topic schedule when the assignments are due. And again, there's only one major assignment. It's the end of the class, but this should help you sort of track with the class. Please review all the class policies regarding late work, plagiarism, etc. And again, I'm assuming you guys are all honest people. You're not going to plagiarize, but I want you to understand what it is and what the penalties for it are, okay? And then there's an extended bibliography in there. Well, actually, it's a selected bibliography. I could have put many more works in there, but this will give you a good idea of some other works that could help you. If you want to go more in depth in a certain area for your research project, this might be a good place to start. So, in conclusion, to get started with the class, take a look at week 1's material and the discussion board questions. And of course, we have a get to know you kind of discussion thread. I know you probably do this in most of your classes, and you probably know most of the people by now. Unless you're new, it's good for you to get to know all your classmates in all of your classes. And of course, it'll help me, of course, to get to know you as well. And you are free to contact me if needed. I am here for you. You are not here for me. At any point, please call me, email me, text me, carrier pigeon, however you want to get through to me. I'm here for you for the next 8 weeks, all right? You are paying for part of my time, so don't say, oh, this guy's the dean of all distance education. He's too busy. Pshaw, I'm never too busy for you because I love my students and I make you a priority in my life, okay? So as long as it's related to the class, don't call me at midnight crying because, Uncle Pookie, ran away or something like that. Uncle Pookie, I don't know where I got that from. It was a cousin Pookie. Anyhow, okay, some of you know what I'm talking about. I'm really looking forward to having a great class together. Again, I love this topic. I love teaching in the area of leadership and management, and I think you're going to get a lot from this. So let's work together. Let's chop it up together. Let's have a great class, and I look forward to working with all of you in the next 8 weeks. So God bless you, and welcome to class.